Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. St. Lucia's President of the Senate relieved of his position, having found himself on the wrong side of the law. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 12th October 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Attorney Stanley Felix has been relieved of his duties as a senator and Senate President in St. Lucia after he was arrested and charged by the police for the offense of allegedly perverting the course of justice. Felix was granted bail in the sum of $15,000. Joachim Duplessis of HTS News Force reports.
The government of St. Lucia has wasted no time in firing Senator Stanley Felix after the now former Senate President was formally arrested and charged by police for allegedly perverting the course of justice. The acting Governor General, acting on the advice of the Prime Minister, has revoked the well-known attorney's senatorial appointment. On Thursday, the Prime Minister's office, in a statement confirming the arrest of the former Class 3 Central MP hopeful, indicated that a further statement would be forthcoming at the appropriate time once there was more information. Following news of the laying of charges, the Office of the Prime Minister, in a press release late Friday, October 7, 2022, made a declarative statement on the unfolding events.
On Friday, October 7, 2022, Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre learned that the President of the Senate, Mr. Stanley Felix, was formally charged by police under Section 376 of the Criminal Code of St. Lucia. As head of the government, Honorable Pierre demands the highest levels of professionalism and integrity from all public officials at all times. As such, the Governor General, acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister and pursuant to Section 27(2)(e) of the Constitution of St. Lucia, has been advised to revoke Mr. Felix's appointment and to relieve him of senatorial duties in the upper house of Parliament. His successor will be announced at a subsequent time. The Prime Minister assures the St. Lucian public that the continuation of the business of the government and all related state affairs remains a priority to him and the cabinet which he leads.
The ex-president of the Senate, Stanley Felix, was granted bail in the sum of $15,000 cash or suitable surety on Friday. He was arrested and charged for perverting the course of justice in accordance with Section 376 of the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, Revised Edition 2005. According to reports, Felix was required to surrender his St. Lucian passport and must not leave the country without permission as part of the bail conditions. Moreover, he has been ordered to report to the Central Police Station on the first Saturday of every month. Law enforcement authorities have not provided details on what case or ongoing police probe to which the charges are related. Back in August, during debates in Parliament on the Special Prosecutor Bill, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, citing the perceived shortcomings of the previous UWP administration, issued a stern warning to all public officials and members of his cabinet.
A country where people will not say, where no politician will ever say, when I commit crime on my own. And if any of my ministers ever make this statement, I say it publicly. If any of my ministers ever say in public, when they commit crime, they commit their own, I will fire them. You cannot tolerate that level of ill discipline in your cabinet. In a cabinet, no Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, no matter who the minister is.
Stanley Felix is reportedly represented by attorneys Lon Theophilus and Alberton Richelieu. A person who commits an offense of perverting the course of justice is liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment for 5 years. It should be noted that Felix is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and is entitled to due process and a fair hearing under the law. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
Trinidad and Tobago's top cop, McDonald Jacob, has been responding to concerns in the public domain following the killing of a man by an off-duty SRP officer, allegedly over a parking spot. Jacob says the firearm has since been seized, and he's assuring the public that a thorough investigation is underway into the incident. TV6's Renessa Cutting reports.
The top cop informs TV6 that the officer in the incident has given a totally different account of what transpired on Friday, but says all accounts are being investigated.
This was in fact a special reserve officer involved in the incident with his licensed firearm. And once there is a death of anyone from a FUL holder, whether the person is a special reserve officer or a regular police officer or a civilian person who's a FUL holder, an investigation will be launched in the matter. Right, so from the information we received, right, preliminary information is that that person was effecting an arrest at the time, and certain things occurred resulting in the death. So I want to leave it there so that the investigators can do the work, and depending on the outcome of the investigation, the DPP will be involved, and then the police will be advised, in which direction to go.
The top cop stressed there is no bias in the matter, as he referenced a homicide which occurred today involving a registered FUL holder.
Because if there is a justifiable killing, like we had an incident, I think over this weekend, with similar fashion where a FUL holder shot and killed someone in a house, right, in Chaguanas and Kunupia there, where FUL holder, all right, in that circumstance, that is also considered as a homicide. But whether or not it will be considered as a murder is all depend on the investigation that is done. What is the outcome of that investigation, whether or not it was a justifiable killing or not.
As such, Jacob says the killing cannot be classified as a murder at this time.
Once there's a killing of a human being by another human being, it is in fact a homicide. However, whether or not initially it is counted as a murder is another situation. That is a killing of a human being by another human being with malice aforethought, right? So right now, there's a killing. It is considered a homicide, but will not necessarily immediately be counted in our murder figures until such time when we are so advised by the DPP.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
of CARICOM Reparations Commission and Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, is disappointed with an offer from the United Kingdom's Cambridge University.
For Cambridge to identify £1 million, which they say they will allocate to research and scholarships, it is a pitiful response to a history of 400 years of engagement in slavery and colonization. And quite frankly, I wouldn't wish to say this without clearing with the Vice Chancellor, because I have a communication with him. But I will just say, I'm disappointed.
Over in Abaco, the Bahamas, 3 males and 3 females have been arrested in connection with a drug bust there.
Police say shortly after noon Friday, a team of officers acting on intelligence secured a search warrant for a business establishment on the Sherland-Boodle Highway in Marsh Harbor. The officers met the suspects on the premises while checking 3 derelict vehicles and a white caravan. At the rear of the property, a large amount of Crocosacks packaged with suspected marijuana, along with a quantity of suspected cocaine, was found. Police also seizing 2 high-powered rifles, 2 pistols, and a quantity of ammunition. The drugs and ammunition brought to the capital this afternoon by Drug Enforcement Unit officers. Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Kristen Skippings tells us more.
Yesterday, they were able to zero in and they were able to arrest 6 people 3 males and 3 females. They were also able to confiscate an estimated 120 bales of marijuana, an estimated 2 kilos of cocaine, along with firearms. And so we are actively investigating, and as additional information becomes available, we will update you accordingly.
Jamaican ministers respond to Turks and Caicos Islands on drug gang complaints. Jamaica's Foreign Affairs Minister has described the move as regrettable.
On Monday, TCI Governor Nigel Dakin told the country's legislature that Jamaican gangs were a major influence on that country's escalating crime. He suggested that the Jamaican government should assist the TCI with the problem. However, in a statement on Friday, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith expressed concern at the developments and statements. While confirming that Jamaica and other Northern Caribbean states have responded positively to requests for assistance in the TCI, she described it as truly regrettable that against information indicating that various nationalities have been and are involved in previous criminal activity and the recent surge, Jamaicans were singled out for blame. She described the statement as distinctly unhelpful to the situation. Recognizing the law-abiding Jamaicans in the Turks and Caicos Islands, Minister Johnson-Smith sought to assure them of the concern and interest in the situation and urged them to remain calm. In the meantime, at the first face-to-face meeting of the Caribbean Community Council for National Security and Law Enforcement held in Trelawney, Chairman Dr. Horace Chang noted that gang violence is affecting most regional states because of the same root problem: illegal guns.
None of our countries manufacture firearms, and yet the ill effects of their proliferation and the contribution to gang violence and transnational criminal activities permeates our respective territories and are responsible for over 70% homicide in the Caribbean, or more than 70% of the homicide in the Caribbean. It is within this context that it is important to disrupt and prevent illegal firearms and ammunition passing through our borders.
Since the call from the TCI for assistance, Jamaica's Police Commissioner, Major General Anthony Anderson, has announced that both countries have been sharing intelligence in an effort to stem the gang violence across both territories. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Nevis's hotel room capacity remains a challenge. This, according to Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. Glenn Budd of SKN Newsline reports.
In looking ahead for the short-term future of land-based tourism on Nevis, Premier Mark Brantley said the accommodation capacity for higher growth is not satisfactory. Brantley indicated that the accommodation capacity has to be viewed, however, in the context of current hotel occupancy rates, which he said was low at the moment. With talk of expanding the Vance Army Airport at Newcastle, the complexities of pushing stay-over visitors is challenging in a post-COVID-19 period. According to Brantley, however, attention needs to be placed on filling existing room stock.
So you ask, am I satisfied with the room stock? The short answer is no. We would like to see more hotel rooms available, more villas as well available. I have had good news from the Mount Nevis Hotel, which, as you know, was shuttered during COVID, that they plan to reopen. I believe the date they gave me was the 3rd of December, that they plan to reopen that hotel. So that's good news that will put some rooms back into the pool of hotel rooms. But you use the language of chicken and egg, and it's a really difficult analysis sometimes, because when some argue we need more hotels and we need more hotel rooms, we get the response sometimes that the occupancy of the existing hotels is quite low at some points. In fact, I think Four Seasons, our flagship, was at 5% about a week ago. 5% is practically empty. It's difficult to run a plant the size of the Four Seasons with 5% occupancy. What is the right mix and what is the right answer? That's a matter, I suppose, the experts will continue to debate. But it is always a challenge when you say you want more rooms, increase the room stock, but you're not seeing a corresponding increase in occupancy and occupancy levels. So, do we have another 5-6 hotels and all of them are at 10%? Or do we focus on filling the rooms that we have and ensuring that the hotels that we have are operating at 80 and 90% capacity?
Added to the mix is the high cost of air travel into St. Kitts and Nevis and the stymied condition of interregional travel. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.